Taehyung grabbed Jungkook by the neck and almost kissed him in front of everyone. In the middle of an event where cameras were rolling and millions of eyes were attentive, Taehyung grabbed Jungkook by the neck and got so close that their lips were millimeters away from meeting. There was no laughter to hide the gesture, nor words to explain it. Just two people in silence, sharing a moment that seemed prepared by fate. The most important thing about that moment was that neither of them showed any discomfort. Jungkook showed no signs of moving away, his expression remained serene, unsurprised. Taehyung, for his part, made no secret of his intentions. He took him firmly and held him. It wasn't a quick or accidental gesture. Although some people have tried to justify the action as part of a show, Jungkook has said on several occasions that he doesn't like fan service. He has been clear in interviews and broadcasts, he doesn't pretend. So, if this wasn't an act, what we saw is a clear sign of something more real. An expression that needs no labels. If Jungkook doesn't act and Taehyung doesn't hold back, the meaning of the gesture speaks for itself. You also have to look at the details. The way Jungkook looked at him. His body was still, without tension. There were no movements that showed rejection. No laughter to break the tension. It was all natural. For Taehyung users, these kinds of gestures aren't new, but they are very important. This moment wasn't a game. It was a concrete action that showed how much they understand each other without needing to speak. Jungkook allowed this approach because nothing made him uncomfortable. And Taehyung did so, confident that the other would accept it. When Jungkook said live that he sleeps and has breakfast with Taehyung, he left no room for doubt. Taehyung is no longer hiding. In a broadcast watched by millions, Jungkook made a statement that didn't go unnoticed. He said he sleeps with Taehyung and that they also have breakfast together. He didn't say it jokingly, nor did he retract it afterward. He simply mentioned it as something natural, like a habit between them. This moment wasn't a mistake or a slip of the tongue, it was an unfiltered statement. Although the gesture may seem small, its meaning is enormous. It exposes an intimate routine that only makes sense when there is a deep and constant relationship between two people. That Jungkook said it so calmly shows he doesn't feel the need to hide anything. This transparency is no accident. These kinds of moments, in which Taehyung shows himself fearlessly and without filters, carry more weight than any exaggerated or prepared gesture. In them, the truth seeps effortlessly. There's a kind of sincerity that only appears when the camera is on, and they completely forget they're being watched. These kinds of details are what most reinforce what Taehyung and Jungkook have always known, that the connection between Taehyung and Jungkook is real, strong, and present even in the most mundane spaces of their lives. He sleeps with him. He has breakfast with him. What else can anyone say about the importance of another person in their life? The interesting thing is that these revelations don't happen when they're alone, but right when they're with the other members of the group. They do it in front of everyone, unafraid of how it looks or how it sounds. This reinforces a powerful idea: they don't hide. Their relationship is shown in small gestures that, together, build constant evidence. That Jungkook would say that right in the middle of a group dynamic, with everyone present, and in front of millions of people, shows the level of security and trust that exists in his relationship with Taehyung. There's no shame, no need to hide. When Taehyung avoided looking at Jungkook so as not to lose the game, it was clear that their connection goes beyond the ordinary. Even a simple glance can make him give up. At many moments in their history, Jungkook and Taehyung have made it clear that their gazes have a language of their own. It's not something acted or forced, but rather natural reactions that occur when they meet eyes. In the episode of Run BTS, there was a situation that made this idea even more striking. Taehyung had to avoid looking at Jungkook so as not to lose the game, but even so, his body couldn't resist. He tried to stay focused, to avoid that familiar gaze, but when he finally faced it, it was impossible to continue. That moment revealed an important truth: between them, the gaze isn't just visual, it's emotional, intimate, and revealing. These kinds of gestures between the two don't need words to be understood. Each eye contact carries a message, a story, a feeling. It's as if the whole world around them stops for a second. Even in the midst of activities, jokes, or games, they always end up meeting eyes. This visual connection is frequently repeated in interviews, concerts, and behind the scenes. Even when they're surrounded by many people, eye contact inevitably occurs. This proves it's not a coincidence. It's part of a dynamic they've built together over years. The gaze they share isn't just a way of seeing each other, it's also a way of recognizing each other. When one looks at the other, there's a pause. The rhythm changes. Their surroundings cease to matter for a few seconds. This is noticed not only by those who have followed their relationship for a long time, but also by those who are just discovering them. The energy they exchange is so strong that it can be felt even through a screen. And this isn't an isolated moment. This pattern is repeated in many contexts, confirming that their connection is strong and constant. For years, people have looked for signs between Taehyung and Jungkook. But there are moments where theories aren't necessary, because actions speak for themselves. This scene, in which Taehyung takes Jungkook by the neck and pulls him gently but intentionally closer, is one of those moments. It's impossible to ignore what was seen, a connection that can't be faked. Many try to reduce this scene to an act or a strategy for the audience, but that doesn't make sense if you remember one key thing: Jungkook doesn't do fan service. He said so himself. He doesn't like to pretend. He doesn't like acting to make others believe something that isn't real. That's why, when you see Jungkook comfortable in a moment like this, the only logical thing to understand is that he's being sincere. Taehyung, for his part, didn't act nervously or try to cover up what he was doing. He did it with confidence, as if he was used to that closeness with Jungkook. It wasn't a clumsy or improvised gesture. It was something that had happened before, perhaps in private. But this time, it was in public. And that changes everything. When someone lets you touch them so directly on the neck, without flinching, without getting upset, without joking, what it shows is total trust. The body doesn't lie. And in that instant, Jungkook's body remained firm, calm. He stayed. And that says it all. The camera captured it from the best possible angle. There were no cuts. No manipulation. It just showed two people sharing an intimate moment in front of everyone. And that's what surprised many most. Because if it was really something planned, it would have looked different. But what was seen was true. Taekookers noticed it from the first second. It wasn't just the gesture, it was the story behind that gesture. Years of similar moments. Small actions, long glances, repeated gestures. And now, this scene confirms it. Because when Jungkook doesn't pull away, he's saying without words that what happens there is natural. These kinds of approaches can't be repeated if there are no feelings. No one unintentionally grabs another person by the neck and approaches their lips. And no one allows that gesture if they don't want to. That's what was made clear in this scene. That there's no doubt that they're both on the same level. That they understand each other, that they respect each other, and that they no longer want to hide it. For those who still have doubts, there's no need to argue. Just watch that scene again. The way Taehyung holds him, the distance between their faces, the time that passes without either of them moving away. All of that was direct proof of what many already knew, that what they're doing is real. And they show it without fear. The relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook hasn't needed any big scenes to be clear. What they've always shown has been a constant presence by each other's side. From their early years to the most recent moments, there's a clear pattern. They're always together, searching for each other with their eyes, understanding each other without speaking. This kind of connection doesn't appear out of nowhere, it's built over time, with habit, with a real bond. When you analyze their story from the beginning, it's easy to see that what exists between them is much deeper than mere coincidences. No matter how many other members are on the scene, Jungkook and Taehyung always find a way to be close. One of the elements that has stood out most among the Taekookers is the way they behave when they think no one is watching. They don't need to attract attention, because their way of being together speaks for itself. The natural way they share space, subtle touches, or even comfortable silences between the two, conveys a relationship built on trust and habit. If someone has breakfast with you every day and also sleeps with you, that says much more than a prepared sentence can say. These are details that can't be fabricated, they only emerge from constant coexistence. Another key point is that, although their gestures have been analyzed for years, they've never felt the need to strongly deny anything. On the contrary, they've always allowed those clues to exist, even when they knew they would be interpreted. Jungkook, for example, hasn't shied away from talking about his closeness with Taehyung. He's mentioned it on live streams, in interviews, in games, without discomfort. And Taehyung hasn't distanced himself either. Both have allowed the narrative to grow, not with empty words, but with constant actions. That consistency is what makes it all make sense. Furthermore, when you see their group interactions, the difference between Taehyung's relationship and others becomes more evident. The way they look at each other, how they react to each other's comments, and even how they sit or lean on each other in public always maintains a distinct tone. The level of trust, comfort, and attention between the two is unique. No matter the context, award shows, concerts, interviews, or casual moments, Jungkook and Taehyung always reflect a more intimate connection. The bond between Jungkook and Taehyung has not only been constant, but it has also withstood all kinds of attacks. Over the years, many people have tried to change the meaning of their gestures, claiming they are misinterpretations or exaggerations. However, each new moment they share reaffirms that their relationship continues to grow. They have not stopped showing each other their true colors, even when they know there are people waiting for reasons to criticize them. This decision to continue as always shows that they are confident in what they have, and that they don't care what others think. There are many ways to deny a relationship, but Jungkook and Taehyung choose none. Instead of hiding, they continue doing the same things they've always done, spending time together, looking closely at each other, showing affection in public. They do this not just once, but all the time. Instead of distancing themselves for fear of comments, they stick together. This way of acting, repeated so many times, shows that their connection is not only real, but strong. There's no need for proof when the facts are so clear. It's also clear that they aren't performing for an audience. What they show is part of their daily routine. From breakfast together to spontaneous moments like sleeping next to each other, their closeness has become part of their identity. They don't need grand declarations because their way of being together already says it all. Taekookers don't interpret meaningless things, they simply observe what's right in front of everyone, a couple who has maintained their bond with constancy and security, no matter the circumstances. Despite the hatred they sometimes receive, they continue to move forward. They don't hide, they don't change their way of treating each other, and they never stop sharing those unique moments that make their story so special. Every gesture, every word, and every appearance together serves as proof of a relationship that has continued to move forward. Some people try to deny the obvious, but meanwhile, Taekook remains present, steadfast, and growing stronger. Jungkook and Taehyung haven't given time the space to cool what they have. On the contrary, each new appearance strengthens the narrative that many already know. The most important thing is that they haven't stopped showing themselves as they are, without fear, without hiding. That can't be achieved without security. Being together every day, with millions of eyes on them, and still acting the same as always, shows that their connection doesn't depend on the acceptance of others. It depends solely on the two of them.